Hey y'all, back at you another video. Armory Dozier, and I'm here with
Monique Williams.
yes. Let me give you a little introduction if you may not know who she is. She's got her hand in about every pot you could think of, from politics, from working with the youth, from foundations. So just give them a little rundown of your resume, your accolades.
I served for 7 years on the South Suburban Council of Homelessness. I still am serving on that board, going on 10 years. I'll be the chair of that board this year. I served on the Alliance to End Homelessness in suburban Cook County. That's the board that oversees the HUD funding for the South Suburbs. I've been president of that board. I serve on the Harvey Cope Football Youth Board here in Harvey. And 2014, we did the Inspire campaign for 3 years out here, and it was pretty successful, youth program and whatnot. So I just do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I have to speak on that. You actually let me had a chance to write some of your scenes, so appreciate that. I got a chance to try my hand at writing. That was fun, because usually I would just write my own skits and never had a chance to see other people bring them to life. So thank you for the opportunity, I have to say.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yes, let's just get into it, because I know you do a lot in the community. So as a mother of sons, how do you feel about the climate that we're in right now?
Wow, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question, but it's a good question. The climate that we're in right now is very difficult, and it's very, in my opinion, dark.
Right.
My advice to my sons is to rely on their intellect and not their emotions. That's my advice to any black male of color.
Right.
With just the way that the system is and how it's built to work against you anyway, the way that you fight that is with intellect.
Right.
Because the whole thing was concocted with, under the belief that this group of people, that African Americans aren't very bright and we are so animalistic. And so they built a system that triggers those behaviors in us. And so I think we need to be more conscious of that as well, and not being controlled by the triggers of the oppressors.
Right.
And so that causes you to rely more on your intellect than on your just emotions of situations. Yes, there's a lot of messed up stuff going on, and emotions are okay.
Right.
They're real, but you want to always think first and think more and ask questions.
And I brought up the whole thing with the whole person of color, people of color. I feel like when they say that term, they don't really talk about it. It's not really referring to us. You know?
People of color?
Yeah, I feel like it's very broad. It's not really referring to our community. It's like very broad. You can see different communities referring to themselves as people of color. Like Chinese people are people of color, if you want to get that deep. So I feel like when people make the blanket statement of all lives or people of color's lives matter, I feel like it's just more a broader thing, because people use our movement to kind of piggyback off of it. Kind of like how you could say like Jewish people during the civil rights movement, they were so for it, but then now they don't really deal with us, or they don't really like stand up for us during these times. That's why I feel like they use the term people of color just to piggyback off of what's going on right now. But as soon as everything dies down, they're not going to support, they're not going to be in the fields with us. Do you feel like that?
I mean, terms are relative.
Right.
Terms are relative, and they mean different things to different people.
Right.
When I'm saying people of color, I'm thinking people who have had whole systems created to keep them down. It is not just black people.
Right.
We happen to be the worst of it because we were actually enslaved here.
Right.
Instead of getting rid of the slavery, they just rewrote it and repackaged it, like with a trick of the light. So, we constantly have these huge barriers to overcome in life, even if you're walking the straight and narrow. So I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
But terms are relative. The all lives matter thing, I feel the same way. Like, that's something, what's understood don't need to be explained. We know all lives matter, but at this time, it seems that the world has forgotten that Black lives matter. And so that's what that term is really bringing attention to. It's not saying that only Black lives matter, but I feel like to counter that, after, seeing the systemic racism and oppression and black men and women being murdered by law enforcement operating outside the bounds of the Constitution, killing people, that's your response.
Exactly.
I think that's, tasteless, but and it's it's indicative of just the lack of care or lack of empathy for the struggle to say all lives or blue lives. Like, you guys already have precedents. You all have already been able to operate outside the bounds of the Constitution. And so that's what I think people are saying when, like, folks are thinking they're meaning, like, that the whole talk about defunding the police is a talk that, oh, we're totally getting rid of the police. But, I mean, when you talk about the first police force being made to catch slaves,
overseers.
Come on, man.
Overseer officer.
Something built on that is not going to be successful. And so every so often, you keep seeing this, ugly head pop itself up in organized racism within the systems. It's because they were built on rotted foundation. The police, the whole concept of the police was built on
slave catcher, overseer officer.
Right, on to enforce oppression, to enforce bringing people's property, which were human beings, back to their masters. This is where the concept of police came from. Fugitive slaves. They were paying people to go and hunt with guns and bring slaves back. This is how the police
found it.
came to be, that whole concept, that idea. And so to think that just because, and we're not that far removed from this, people forget that too. It hasn't been that, it's what, 3 generations? It's not that far.
I think Tulsa, Oklahoma happened late 800s, maybe early 1900s, and that was on our soil where they were dropping bombs on Black Wall Street. So.
Yeah, well, they never admitted to dropping bombs, but they, that was another thing that was overlooked. It also was not taught to me in Afro-American history.
Exactly.
It wasn't taught to me in African-American history
during
in school.
Slavery. That's where your history shows up.
Or it wasn't taught to me in African-American history in high school or college. I learned about Tulsa on my own.
Exactly. All you learn really about our history is slavery. Rosa sat down and Martin stood up. That's about it as far as our history.
That doesn't minimize the sacrifice that they took, but there were so many unsung heroes, as it still is today,
Did you know about the recent hangings that are going on all around California?
I've listened to a couple of stories.
They're ruling them as suicides.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that they weren't doing autopsies on them.
Right. Do you think this is maybe white supremacists doing this, or radicalists, or Antifa, or just what particular group do you think is responsible for it, and as well as, do you think this is just a response to the
Black Lives Matter thing? Okay, using my intellect, and not my emotions, I know for certain that we have foreign governments paying sales to post incendiary things online. We also had insurgents show up during the protests to start the,
dropping off bricks,
violence and stuff. We know these things. I don't know who's doing the hangings. It could be white supremacists. It could be someone trying to force the United States into a race war all over again. I really think that's a big part of it. But we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable as a country because of the injustices that are present on our soil. And this situation has, in my opinion, has really displayed that, because like I said, using my intellect, I'm going, oh, there's all these people that have their own motives for getting involved and starting a race war. But at the same time, you can't negate the fact that they did used to hang us over here.
Right.
That you used to not be able to walk to the store. So is that a trick of the light? Mm-hmm. Is that, again, the master's ploy to play with our psyche? To
frighten us.
Yes, to get us to do what? Mm-hmm. Because it's always to get us to do something, fear, whether it's react to something or not react to something. So that's just what I don't know. I think they need to investigate it to find out, because those people, their lives matter.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't have been, what are we talking about here?
Right.
Like hangings in 2020, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's insane.
But it goes on, and it's still very prevalent. So I don't think much has changed, honestly, because we still have the same government in place that was never for us. In the Constitution, they weren't talking about us when they said, we the people, you were the property. I always say that. And the police are still in force, where you even said they were the slave catchers. That's still going on, and now the hangings. I just feel like there's no real progression, as you want to say, even if we are years out of slavery, or, 100 or so.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I feel like we've made some progress, and I'm going to tell you another thing. First of all, let's talk back in the day. Let's talk ancestors. Right. Let's talk Huey P. Newton, Angela Davis. Let's talk activists from back in the day, how they did it. Now, if we're taking from the rubric, that group was very intellectual in how they dealt with the United States, and they overcame a lot. So much so that it made them target them. It made them, it irritated them to the point to where they targeted them to make sure that they were able to dismantle. They murdered the leaders, and the ones that they didn't murder, they got involved in the drug trade and stuff like that. They just did so many horrible things. But if we talk about the approach that the Panthers took, it was a very intellectual approach. It was an approach where, okay, these are your rules, fine then. We're gonna go by, if these are the rules we're playing by, and these are everybody's rules, guess what? We're gonna play by these rules too. We're gonna display our right to bear arms. We're going to make sure that we protect our communities. We're going to make sure that we feed our communities. We're going to make sure. So there's a reason that there has not been a all-black organization like the Black Panthers since the Black Panthers, because that is actually when the system was actually challenged. And at risk from falling apart because we had got up from the table.
Exactly.
We were doing our own things, and they said, we can't have them doing this. We can't have them doing this. We need them to be in the rat race. We need them to be doing these things. We don't need them to be making their own things. You need to do what we got going on over here. You feel me? So, as far as progress, I feel like Master's tricksy. And he wants you to believe that there's no progress so you can hold on to that hopelessness, that there is no change coming, or that nothing can change, but we've seen it change. And certain things that we can, even the little things that we take for granted, like I can actually walk to the store now. I can actually purchase property. I can do, you know what I'm saying? There's things that previously basic human rights that we weren't able to do that we are able to do now. We've also had brothers and sisters infiltrate the ranks. That's why, like, when we had the streets talking and we had other people being upset at what was going on, I look at it on both ends. I can see it on both ends because I grew up in the streets. I had a rough bringing up. I understand what it feels like to be in that state of hopelessness. I understand what it feels like to be consumed with anger. I've been there. It's a dark place to be. And when you're in that place, you do not care about anything else but making other people feel what you feel.
Right.
I've been there.
Right.
So I understand that, but I also understand as being part of one of the persons that, of the groups that do try to abide by the rules, that do try to infiltrate the ranks to make sure that we have seats behind the scenes at this table. The streets need to be made aware that you have brothers and sisters that you don't see every day advocating for inclusion for you, advocating for that dental office in your community so you can have access to dental care. And then when we start rioting, we totally demolish the dental office. We can't do that. That's counterproductive.
I can hear what you're saying.
It's counterproductive because now
And
you
again-
still have to live here with no dental office.
Yeah.
And they're not going to rush back to put your dental office. But they're going to rush to fix the Magnificent Mile. Those stores are already back open. But drive down 79th.
Right.
Drive down 87th.
Exactly. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but then people have tried to do it the right way.
No, it's not a but then.
I'm saying
This is a historic, a systemic thing that is multifaceted and layered. We can't do things that work against our brother or sister over here.
Right.
We can't do things that work. We could have a different opinion.
Right.
But that brother, that was still time, blood, sweat, and tears. I know. I've been serving on boards to make sure that the voices in our community are included for 9 years of my life. That's time.
Yeah.
That's time away from my kids. That's time away from my family because I want to make my community better.
Yeah.
And so then I get, we advocate. You have Sister Toy Hutchison that went out here and made sure that when we went through, was part of the senators that made, it wasn't just her, but she played a very big role in that, making sure, and she's just like us.
Right.
I did AXO, she did AXO, we did the same things. We're from the same hood.
Right.
Went out there and made sure that with the legalization of marijuana and those sales, that money flows back into the community. No, specifically communities that were negatively affected by the war on drugs, that were negatively affected by the criminalization of marijuana. You had a sister at the table doing that.
Right.
So that now those millions of dollars, all that marijuana money that we saw them make, guess what? You have somebody at the table making sure that money comes back into our communities. But we don't know that. So what do? We're we're robbing the damn dispensary. That is counterproductive.
Yeah. But okay. I see what you're saying. But a lot of people will say that, but then it's like, what's the right way to get it done? I know what you're saying, but they killed Malcolm just like they killed Martin. And one was radical and one wasn't. So I just,
No, what they don't tell you, but if you pay attention to history, actually toward the end, Malcolm and Martin were coming on the same. The whole nonviolent violence was what they wanted them to be, to keep the separation there. Towards the end, Malcolm and Martin were kind of aligning.
On the same page.
But history they don't talk about that. Because that's what they wanted the history to be. That, it was still this division between Martin Luther King followers and Malcolm X followers. But it really wasn't. We are all one and the same.
Exactly.
You have one approach and another approach. And the one does not cancel out the other. That's what I'm saying. While I understand the fires and the symbolism and all of that, burn it down, pay attention to what they did. Y'all was downtown, burned it down. They made sure when they called the National Guard in, that's where they went and secured first. They pushed y'all into y'all neighborhoods so y'all could tear y'all stuff up. Gotta do stuff more smarter.
Yeah.
Now, if we're upset with the police station, descend on the police station.
Yeah.
Don't tear the food place up around the corner from you
Right.
that now you used to go to that you can't no more. Or where and that was the other thing too. I saw.
Yeah, elders really can't get their medicine, can't go to grocery stores.
It was just
It's
so
a lot
much.
of
But
stuff.
again,
Yeah.
that's also a testament. I feel like that is because, what did I say back in 2014? We've ignored the younger generation.
Yeah, yeah. But then they locked up our fathers, so who's really raising the younger generation?
Ain't nobody raising them.
Exactly.
But that's what I said. They're left by the wayside, and so, without guidance and nobody to lead it, nobody want to talk to them kids.
They prison our fathers and criminalize so many different rules. Like after slavery ended, there was the black codes and the rules that are still on the books. So after that, you also had the Panthers, which you talked about, but then little do they know the CIA also put drugs in the community. So now you have that working against you. You have prison working against you. So of course the youth is going to be misguided to know the next step. So you can't have a revolution because you either cracked out or you in jail. So I don't know.
It's just worse. That's why my advice is what it is, to use your intellect more, because a lot of our black and brown babies caught felonies out here.
Young, right. Already got a record.
Rioting.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Thinking it was all. Me and my friend went out to try to talk. We were out doing outreach, telling them, because I already knew that there was going to be a disconnect.
Right. That's funny because it was all people of all colors rioting, but you're telling me people got records who look like us. It's kind of funny.
That ain't funny. I'm not caring about the people that got records that's not looking like us.
I'm saying the people who look like us have records,
watching.
But they don't. They didn't even get a slap on the wrist.
But we don't know that.
Everybody was rioting, though. Everybody was taking from them stores.
Right, but it was the insurgents.
Right.
It's kind of like the herd thing. So one person will throw something. Oh, now we're doing this. Okay, and then the next person does it. It's a psychological thing, and these are the games that they've been playing with us since they brought us over here.
Right.
They're mental. All is mental. So that's why I feel like we need to rely on our intellect a little bit more. But it broke my heart to see young brown boys. Not that I don't care, because I need to correct that. I care about the people of that
I care about
white
everybody.
people catching cases, but I really care about this young man who was out here trying to express himself in a way that he's seen everybody else expressing themselves, and then got caught up, and now he got a felony.
Yeah.
And now he has a felony.
Right.
That breaks my heart.
Right.
I saw a group of them downtown Harvey trying to get into an ATM machine, and me and my friend rode over there, and he's filming them. I don't know why he was doing that, but anyway,
snitching on yourself.
Just you made it worse. We're out here protesting the system by getting caught up into it.
Yeah.
That don't make sense to me.
Right.
It's not logically sound.
Yeah.
You protesting the system, now your ass about to be even getting arrested. Have you ever been arrested? It is the most deplorable thing you will ever go through in your life. I'm not voluntarily doing that.
Right.
I would not voluntarily give up the little fake freedom that I got for more restricted. Oh, you got to use the bathroom where everybody watch you use the bathroom. Like jail is, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, I'm not voluntarily going. Even getting caught up in that. They finna be having to go to court. Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? And 9 times out of 10, because you don't want to do it, you're not going to go. You're going to get warrants. Then you're going to get arrested. Like, it's a cycle.
Right.
And they keep it in the cycle. And so my advice is to try to stay out of the cycle. And I'm a testament. Even when you try to stay out the cycle, oh, they're going to get you in it for something. For a fine, that's the systemic part.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That's the systemic part. Because even with being upstanding, I can't meet a person who haven't had an interaction with the justice system.
That is true. Anything, parking ticket, license, registration, anything they can get you on. Ooh, red light tickets. the $100 too. All types of different things
that are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Because as long as I'm abiding by the rules and living my life, you shouldn't be able to entrap me via fine, via whatever ordinance. This is crazy.
Yeah.
We've criminalized everything.
That is true. And if you miss a
even
signal,
you walking across the street the wrong way is a violation of a law. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But we allowed it to happen, not paying attention, not using our voices at a time where we could use our voices. Even the whites. Because really they're in a system of oppression too. They get privilege.
Yes. Still oppression. Yeah, I get you.
But they in a system of oppression too, because they gotta pay monies not owed too. They have to deal with the same injustices. So that's what you see in the streets. That's why you see different colors rioting out with us. Like, oh, okay, the blacks pissed, we pissed too. Everybody pissed.
Right.
We pissed for them, they pissed for us.
Right.
We all pissed because this is an unjust system.
Right.
And that's just period and point blank. It's more unjust for others
Exactly.
than some, but the whole system is all jacked up, and it doesn't work for its citizens.
Exactly.
And only this system literally works for the wealthy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I think at the base, that's really what it's about. Status.
Yeah.
It's not it's more about status and culture than it really is about race. But they keep telling us, forcing this by re-traumatizing us with our history. Your history is not supposed to traumatize you. Your history is supposed to teach you so you can learn and move different. And they're like, oh, we seeing the same things in 1960. We're doing the same things we did in 1960s. That means we didn't learn something. That's how the universe works. That means something
disconnected.
Yes. Because we didn't get it or something. We didn't get it. Something didn't happen right. Because the way I see it is, we did have MLK already. We have had Medgar Evers. We have had we've had our ancestors' blood spilled already.
Yeah.
That's why they did it, so we wouldn't have to do it. And now we're doing it.
Yeah, but even they still spill blood because you could forget to turn a turn signal on, and that's the end of you.
I get it. But what I'm saying is, you can't keep doing stuff the same way and expect a different result.
Yeah.
You're going to get the same result every single time. Every single time we tear up, we burn it down, we riot. They don't rebuild it. You can go back to watch. You can see some of the remnants are still there. Detroit riots, still some of the remnants are still there. They do not rebuild this. So my other thing is, know your history. Before you go out, you'll tear something up that when my son get 30, it'll still be torn up.
Yeah.
In the community, devalues it, further takes the value of the community down. It's all a part of the plan.
Even with natural disasters, because like Katrina, I just went to Norla, and some of the stuff still ain't rebuilt. So do you think it's just certain communities they choose to uplift and other ones they don't? Because that was a natural disaster.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's true.
Yes. 100% I think that. 100% it definitely is. You know? Even with getting a car, like I didn't even realize that my interest rate on all of my loans are higher just because this is my residence.
And that's crazy because don't you necessarily make less just because of your color? Because don't black people make less? I think what is it, 25 cents of a dollar than a non-black person? So,
something like that.
So
I don't know that.
So
figure.
you get taxed higher, you get higher rates, and you have to pay more, but you don't make as much as your counterpart.
Systemic oppression.
Right.
That's the systemic. Like you have to bring it out so people can understand the redlining.
Right.
The whole ploy to get black people not interested in purchasing land. Land is wealth.
That's true. Don't even own the communities that you shop with. Like every
we allowed them to come in and take up the land and build public housing on land and not keep it up.
Yeah.
And then totally abandon it.
Yeah.
To where we got a huge homeless problem right now.
Yeah.
And tons of dilapidated public housing that they didn't think, oh, well, if they're not working and paying, how are we gonna maintain this?
Right.
No, because the goal was we don't want them to get as wealthy as us.
Exactly.
So let's do this. Oh, you know, you can have public housing.
Right.
You ain't gotta buy no land.
Exactly.
You don't have to own no business. Black people have always been entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators.
Yeah.
That's what you went and got us for.
Exactly.
You went and got us for the talents. You went and got us, but then you brought us over here and told us that we were really everything.
Yeah.
Which is why you went and got us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Which is why you wanted to enslave.
That's kind of, yeah.
To capitalize on the talents and the gifts and the, that was there. But what a testament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I'm glad you brought up a good point about the whole went to get us and everything else like that. That's another thing. I found out like a lot of us were already here. Like they try to replace
some
us.
of us
Yeah,
were
yeah,
here.
a lot of it. Yeah,
some of
yeah.
us were here, and they enslaved us
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, but then now you tax us for the land that's technically ours. That's why they label us African Americans and think that this isn't your land. It's deep. It's really deep how they change history to fit the narrative.
No, it's really deep at how much was done to oppress one group of people.
Yeah, you can everything when you think about it. The light, traffic light, because what's his name? Who invented the light bulb? They say
Right.
Thomas
Not Edison.
Yeah,
Edison.
Thomas Edison. But it wasn't even actually him. It was
another guy.
Yeah, it was an actual scientist because Thomas Edison owned the company, and it was actually
and he
his
took
invention.
credit for that.
Yeah, took credit. The only thing that they invented was the patent office, because we invented everything from the cotton gin. Why would someone that's not in the fields invent a cotton gin to make our job easier? You know? It just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, that's not logically sound.
Exactly. So it just doesn't, like, everything you do, they take credit for. Even rock and roll, I just wonder, like, what do you think happened in the past to where they feel like they have to police us? They have to put these laws in place. They have to have a ruling class over
It's
us.
about control.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's about. It's about control. And we have a group that have been taught that they are superior, and they continue to live on the land just like we've continued to live on the land.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is we have a system that many times supports that the way that they feel.
Exactly.
And not the way that things really are.
Yes.
That's unfortunate. It's just so many layers to it.
Exactly.
That's why it's like I don't know what to say,
Exactly.
but I wasn't with the people, coming down and calling folks.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Exactly. See one of the overseers now. But
That was weird.
exactly. It's crazy. You always gotta be on your P's and Q's.
That was strange. Do he even litter?
Who?
I don't think. Yeah, he was going there.
Oh, okay. I would have pulled in
Cop.
too.
I mean,
I would have pulled in too. You just follow me. I would've. Yeah, this is my resident.
I'm like,
Right.
I mean, he was hot. They came in hot, both of them anyway.
They did. Anything that we can do as the youth, or anything that we can do politically, you think, to change the
Well,
narrative?
again, that's why this conversation is too long. You're gonna have to do this conversation is too long. But
I was about to get into Moors and everything. We was in Europe.
With that being said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say this. We can't now have this conversation
Mm-hmm.
about injustice that have been done to us without addressing the injustices that we do to one another.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And we do have positions in that are like, certain black codes that are just like, we sometimes uphold our people in the wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, I can talk about him being a crackhead, but you can't talk. Like, no, he shouldn't be a crackhead. Like, this is just point.
Where do you get
It's
the crack?
not like but regardless, or I could talk about him being a thief, or I could talk about him being this, but you can't talk about him being. Nah, it's just certain things present in our community that we refuse to acknowledge. We learned from the master, and we do it to one another.
Right.
We have to cleanse that as well.
Yeah.
It's a full cleansing that needs to happen with black people because we've been corrupted. And even the way that we deal with our brothers and sisters has been highly influenced by how the master deals with us.
Or within themselves. I mean, they'll kill the whole family, go to work like nothing happened. I'm just saying, like, we'll try to say that there is black on black crime, quote unquote, but we don't talk about white on white crime. I mean, you kill where you live. You kill where you live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We got to get these people out of office that aren't effective.
Yeah.
The whole blindly following someone because they're of the same political affiliation. That
Or
like
race.
all of those things, or race, Yeah. Because it's some black people, and you know that.
Yeah.
We know that from the plantation. That oftentimes the overseer was harsher than the master himself.
Exactly. Or they gave him a little trinket so you felt better than your brother or sister.
Yeah, but he would beat the hell out of people.
Yeah.
And Frederick, you need to read. No, it's Booker T. It's up from slavery. But he describes that in there.
Yeah.
That the slaves would rather be beat by the master
Right.
than to be beat by. So again, another psychological thing that was implanted for us to be unfairly harsh on one another.
I think we see each other through their eyes, though. If you want to get that deep. I mean, everything that we see about each other, we talk about hair, each other hair. We talk about if you don't have any shoes on.
Colors.
Yeah, shades. I mean, everything. We see ourselves through the oppressor's eyes. If you really want to get that deep, because that's why they let us out of the chains.
And that's
the chains
a cleansing.
are in our mind.
That's a cleansing.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. So that's why I'm saying it's a whole caveat of things that it's not one specific thing that needs to happen, because it's been so effective and deeply embedded in our culture. Like, they basically stripped our culture and built what they wanted it to be. So in order for us to find the source of our true selves, we got to strip all of that away. And we got to look at things, even if it's something that you've been told. Once I started doing that, that helped me have a more open mind. Even things that I had been told and that I just believed, I hard to believe, I had to ask myself, why do I believe this? Do I believe this because I know it to be true? Or do I believe this because it's been told to me and retold to me and retold to me and retold to me for years? And then I had to acknowledge the fact that most of the things we believe are because we've been indoctrinated with it. It's not because, and then when you start going to do the research, that's when you find all of these other pieces that don't necessarily add up to what you've been told. It's like, we got to strip all of that away. That's what I think we need to do. It's not just a look at the justice system. It's not just a look at the social system. It's not just a look at the political system. It's all of those things all into looking within ourselves and cleansing it all.
All has to do with it. Any closing statements?
That's it. Just use your intellect.
Use your intellect. Well, you heard it here.
That's it.
All right, take care now. You hear?
Come with me, baby, please. Dance with me. Oh, what